All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us for the launch event of the Ultimate Urban Circulator Transit-Oriented Development Pilot Study Virtual Open House. My name is Alexander Traversa, and I am the JTA Project Manager for the U2C TOD Pilot Planning Project. Tonight, I'm joined by Josh Turner, who is with WSP, our partner on this project. Josh is the lead urban designer on the project and will be walking us through some of the features of the virtual open house platform. The virtual open house will be an interactive opportunity for participants to explore the findings of the study at their leisure and to share any final thoughts regarding the project. However, before we get started, I'd like to do a little housekeeping. Due to the impacts of the ongoing pandemic, the format in which we engage the community has changed. However, the feedback is as critical as ever. Those who participated in our previous virtual engagements this past summer are probably familiar with the public input platform, which you're viewing the presentation on currently. But for those that are joining us for the first time, here's some helpful tips. During this meeting, you can ask questions or provide comments by typing them in the comment box located on the side or below the video player, depending on your device. Additionally, comments can be sent to the email located on the public input page at the top of your screen. After the meeting, we ask that you participate in the virtual open house by visiting our project website at utctod.jtafla.com. And there you'll be able to explore the study findings at your own pace. And the virtual open house will be available through the end of February. So please be sure to leave us your feedback on the virtual open house experience and share your final thoughts related to the station area planning under the Engage section of the website. You can also submit questions and comments on the contact section of the website as well. And then finally, for anybody requiring special accommodations for viewing the material, please reach out to JTA customer service at 904-630-3100 or by email at customer-svc@jtafla.com. We'll be happy to try and accommodate your needs in a COVID-friendly way. Before we dive into the demonstration, I'd like to share a little bit of information about the study process, kind of what we've done and where we are today. So for those that don't know, the Ultimate Urban Circulator, or U2C, Transit-Oriented Development, or TOD study is funded through the Federal Transit Administration, or FTA's pilot program for TOD planning. The purpose of this FTA program is to examine the ways to improve the economic development and ridership, foster multimodal connectivity and accessibility, improve transit access for pedestrian and bicycle traffic, engage the private sector, identify infrastructure needs, and enable mixed-use development near transit stations. So this study builds upon past planning work supporting the JTA's U2C program, which aims to modernize and expand the Skyway system through the use of automated vehicle technology. And this study began with an assessment of 6 corridors encompassing the 21 proposed stations. The corridors and station areas were evaluated to identify demographic, travel demand and growth trends, land use and zoning, multimodal accessibility, and real estate market demand. And then these stations were assigned typologies that categorized them by these factors. The second phase established TOD goals, measures, targets, and secondary typologies that further refine those station areas. Those proposed stations have been evaluated for TOD potential, and 6 of those were selected for more detailed station area planning. These station area frameworks were shared with the community at our virtual meetings last summer, and feedback received was incorporated into those designs. And then the final phase focused on TOD regulation, financing, equity and implementation strategies. These implementation mechanisms are crucial in identifying how we can turn these plans into a reality. With these in mind, 2 station areas were advanced for detailed planning and visualization, and you can experience and explore these stations through the virtual open house. The virtual open house is the final phase of the engagement for the study, and we anticipate the completion of the project in early March. Now we would like to share a video highlighting some of the results of the planning study. Following that video, I'll turn it over to Josh to demo the virtual open house. So we hope you enjoy it.
The vision: downtown Jacksonville and surrounding neighborhoods. vibrant, livable, sustainable, connected. With JTA's Ultimate Urban Circulator, transit-oriented development around these stations will create new and wonderful places to live, work, shop, eat, and play. Let's take a look at the highlights. Springfield is a unique historic neighborhood that needs small-scale and strategic development. 8th and Main is envisioned with a grocery store and infill market and workforce housing, like townhomes and small apartments. The intersection of 2nd and Main will serve as the gateway to Springfield by developing the four corners with small-scale multifamily and infill townhomes. Other features include safe crosswalks, bike lanes, apartments, and neighborhood services. Filling the gaps along the Main Street corridor will reinforce the backbone of Springfield. Moving east, imagine a new 20-acre waterfront park at the shipyards, converting formerly environmentally distressed sites to green open spaces with public amenities, making it a premier waterfront destination for Jacksonville and around the world. Anchoring the waterfront promenade and parks, you'll find a hotel, apartments, and restaurants connecting the shipyards, U2C station, and Hogan's Creek. Across the river, two stations, Kings Avenue and the District, bookend the creation of a new neighborhood. On the expanding South Bank, vacant land and surface lots can be transformed into residential buildings with ground floors providing retail and services for the neighborhood. On the west side of the river, Brooklyn is a booming neighborhood that has room to grow with adaptive reuse infill development along Park Street and new multifamily development. Surface parking lots also provide infill opportunities. Pedestrians and bicyclists will enjoy enhanced amenities connecting this area to La Villa. And it all starts at the JRTC in La Villa, the epicenter of a regional transportation network. We're creating a transit-centric neighborhood and a new vision for the convention center, a place to arrive and a place to begin an adventure. No matter how you want to travel, whether by UTC, by bus, or by bike and walk around our new multi-use open green space in the heart of downtown, or make connections with future commuter rail services that will span across the region. With a legacy of transportation, Union Station is front and center with this new vision. The Civic Plaza is a place to gather at the heart of JRTC, Union Station, and the new development. This area will include an entertainment and restaurant pavilion, as well as a pedestrian-only promenade. Transit-oriented development will also provide new places to live, including market-rate and affordable apartments, condos, and townhomes. Neighborhood connections will be made with complete streets, including a variety of pedestrian and bicyclist amenities. Heading north, we'll travel to the reimagined Rosa Park Station, anchored by UTC. A new vision for the station seamlessly integrated with adjacent development. TOD could mean improved transit amenities, an improved transit experience. Redeveloping the Rosa Park Station will create a new transit-centric vision for downtown Jacksonville, with new places to live, work, innovate, celebrate, and gather in Rosa Park Square. The public square will be alive at night and continue DIA's Hogan Street plans for local restaurants and bars, creating a modern, iconic skyline.
So we want to welcome you to the virtual open house. Zan may have said this, but it's worth repeating. We invite you to the virtual open house, which is hosted at the JRTC virtually. So you'll be able to experience JTA's headquarters and the La Villa neighborhood. But again, you can access and participate in the virtual open house by going to u2c.tod.jtafla.com. And again, this virtual open house will be up and running through the end of the month. So when you arrive at the project website, it'll be very clear on the initial page where to go to get into the virtual open house space. So what I want to do today is just take you through the experience, touch on a couple of key aspects of functionality. Just want to make sure I was still there. And then also go through some of, give you a taste of what to expect at with regards to the TOD visions at the stations. I think we'll take a closer look at JRTC and then also get to take a tour as well. So when you first open this, open the link, you'll be brought to this welcome screen. And this welcome screen essentially reviews how the website functions. It's okay if you end up clicking out of that, because we also have at the top an open house how-to. So anytime that you maybe have forgot how to navigate or move around or engage content, it's always going to be there at the top under the how-to. I just want to review, how this works. If you've ever used Google Street View, it works almost identical to this, but we have some little extra features here. So first, by clicking your left mouse button, well, for me, it's the left mouse button, and holding it down and then dragging, you're able to basically pan around with your mouse and look around. And we've captured a 360 degree view of these points along the open house route, so you're able to really explore anything that you want. There's a couple of icons that you're going to encounter as you engage the open house. We have a welcome video here from JTA CEO Nat Ford. That's a play button. It's going to open up a welcome video for him. We have a share your comments here on the way out. We'll ask you if you would like to submit some feedback and give comments. And then also, maybe most importantly, there's these large arrows on the ground. This is how you actually navigate through this space, and we'll do that in a second. The last icon is a point, and what this does, and you'll see them in the open house room, it simply brings into focus content and information about the TOD pilot for you to engage. So why don't we start taking a look around? So I'm going to click on this arrow, and again, you just kind of start moving through the space. And really what's so cool about this is that this really is a recreation of one of the conference rooms at the JRTC. So even though the public hasn't been able, because of COVID, to actually engage this really cool building, we can do this virtually. I also want to encourage you to look out the windows. This is an actual kind of real-life depiction on what would be outside of this window. So you have Union Station there in the distance, but you might notice the Prime Osborne is gone, and now we have this new neighborhood over there, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. So why don't we go ahead and get into the open house room. There's some people standing around. It would just be like you would be doing it in real life, moving around to different areas of information. And instead of actually talking with someone, you're just at your own pace going through the information. Once you enter in the open house, we have a couple of panels that come up, actually 3, which just gives you the lay of the land. So we wanted to point out that if you pan to the left, there will be a large video wall that you can watch that video that Zan ran for us, and most likely with a better internet connection, you'll be able to see that video clearly and hear it clearly. And then we have our 2 main areas where you will engage information about the year-long TOD pilot study for the U2C. We have an implementation kiosk that really gets into quite a bit of detail about how to make, how to turn a study like this into reality. So it's an essential and a key part of the work that we've done over this year. And then really where all the visioning for the transit-oriented development for the 6 stations that Zan was talking about can be found at the U2C station area planning. We'll call it a disc. It's a big disc of downtown Jacksonville. So why don't we take a look around? So this is after you get off those screens, this is essentially you're in the middle of this room. So over here, and I will also mention that if you move your wheel on your mouse back and forth, you can get different perspectives. So, don't be afraid to play around with some of the functionality. But this video wall is, again, where you'll be able to watch the U2C TOD video. we're going to start over at the station area planning kiosk. And here's one of those points. Actually, I'll demo it a little bit more. So if you click on this point, what this does is it brings things into focus. So on this disc, this is downtown Jacksonville, and we have all of our stations that we took a deeper dive with as part of the study. So we have Shipyards, Kings Avenue in the district. Over in Brooklyn, we have Brooklyn Station, and then last but not least, JRTC and Rosa Parks. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take a deeper or a closer look at the JRTC. And for all stations, you see this icon. What that's going to do is it's going to pull up a slide deck. And the slide deck has been designed for you to be able to engage the information at your own pace. And we'll get into how we then convey the strategy and the vision for TOD at each station. Then you see also a world icon, this circle here. For JRTC and Rosa Parks, you can actually get into the station area, walk around, much like what we did just now, walking around the virtual open house room, and really take that next step to engage the vision of what could be with a transit-oriented development as it's associated with the U2C. So let's go ahead and get into this a bit. So I'm going to click on this icon. And again, it pulls up the JRTC station for La Villa. And so let's just start going through what content that you're going to be engaging. So every station, we've, the year-long study, working with you, working with stakeholders, the city and JTA, it's all come together really to arrive at this vision statement. And as I said, each station we've tried to summarize in a very succinct way what it is that we want to do with TOD and transportation. So with JRTC, we want to create a new mixed-use center and multifamily residential neighborhood. And it's all about leveraging the regional reach of the JRTC multimodal hub, and it reimagines the Prime Osborne Convention Center. So that's really at the heart of what the station area is all about. The next two slides that you'll encounter for all station areas recall the work of this past year, and specifically our other two public workshops and events. So our first event, we talked about different topologies for station areas. We talked about our existing conditions analysis. So this is just a reminder that the JRTC is a regional center, and more specifically, it's a transportation hub. Then the basis of all the TOD visions that you will engage with as you work your way around the downtown Jacksonville disc for the different station areas. It all started with the Tod framework. This was very much informed by the engagement with the community. So very proud that even though we've been constrained this past year with COVID, we're still able to have a meaningful and exciting engagement where we can solicit ideas, hear your input, and incorporate into really a community-driven plan. So this framework is just a reminder of really where the ideas came from that then you will be engaging on slides that come after this. So let's get into, really what it is that we'll be talking about for the rest of the slides. There's a lot of information presented for each station area, but we have tried to simplify it. We've grouped key TOD strategies into 5 categories for every station. So these really speak to essentially the principles that we laid out with our TOD frameworks. So making connections, creating great spaces, specifying a mix of uses, focusing density, how are we transitioning into the existing neighborhoods, and then also what are the key opportunities that we find for each station area. I'm going to just take a moment, take a quick sip of water. So moving into this, and starting with making connections, one of the most important strategies here at JRTC is the extension of Stewart Street, which is approximately here, and extending that to possible future commuter rail, which would be located along this alignment here. And what this does, this extension of Stewart Street, is it creates a multimodal connection between U2C, local and regional buses, Greyhound, and future commuter rail. So it's really a spine of multimodal connectivity, and it really expands the reach of transportation for this neighborhood. It's the true anchor. And then it opens up the possibility for surrounding blocks to be revisioned as a new neighborhood. So we include, and I will go back and say that, you know, we want to convey these ideas on a single diagram, this kind of three-dimensional diagram here that has things that are rather kind of simple, neutral aesthetic, so that we're able to really kind of convey these ideas that the key TOD strategies. But we also mix that with, okay, well, what does that look like? What does that feel like? So this is just an image of what it would be like to be at the the U2C platform overlooking Union Station and the new TOD. We want every image to tell a story. The story with this rendering here is all about the bus connections at JRTC, and then also the new TOD, like this new apartment building that could be adjacent and part of that story of transportation and development. You see the sky walk here to the Greyhound station, so it's all part of that transportation connection. Then of course the Stewart Street extension, which is that spine of connectivity connecting commuter rail with the transportation options at the JRTC, with new primarily residential development occurring for the new neighborhood. So throughout the neighborhood, you know, we want to promote what we call complete streets. Really, we want to create a high quality public realm that's safe, that encourages connections by foot and connections to transit. And we do that through things like enhanced lighting, safe crosswalks, extension of bike lanes like the bike lane plan for Park Street, robust wayfinding so you can find your way around the new district. It's these things that come together that really create a great open space and really pleasant to be around and walk around. This is just an example of an enhanced crosswalk making that connection on Stewart Street to the transportation options at the JRTC. Moving on to the next TOD strategy, from making great connections, we want to create great spaces. So we want to integrate the neighborhood with new and existing spaces, like integrating the Lift Every Voice and Sing Park, and we're really excited about the plan for that, with new spaces that are part of the new vision for the Prime Osborne site. That includes JRTC Plaza, which I'll talk about in a moment, and then also, you know, maybe larger areas for passive recreation, making sure that there's enough open space, you know, for residents and workers. So we include a rendering of what JRTC Plaza is, and really I like to call it the front yard of La Villa. You can see JRTC right there in the background. This structure here that you see with these frames, we think that this could be a place for restaurants and bars, so it's an active pavilion that acts as an anchor. Really, this is a place for people to gather. It's also a place where you interface with transportation options. These buildings here in the background, they could be maybe offices, they could be, we're thinking that they're probably residential. But we think it's a really exciting civic space, a really exciting space for La Villa. Then moving on to our third key TOD strategy, specify a mix of uses. Around JRTC Plaza, you can think of it as the hub of this station area. We see shops, restaurants, and apartments. But then also we think Union Station should become a destination. It's a beautiful building, and we think that it could host a food hall. It could be a place for seasonal markets. Really, it is an important part of this station area plan. And this is just an image of what JRTC Plaza could look like at night with the pavilion lighted, and you can imagine maybe a lot of people here congregating for, you know, for whatever event, but then also making transit connections, which is an important piece of this. And then just moving westward, you know, we have that hub of activity around JRTC Plaza, but maybe for the blocks that stretch westward, this could be a transit-centric multifamily neighborhood. And we think it's very important to have active green roofs and terraces. And then also maybe the retail that's on those ground floors, it could be less of destination retail, but maybe more retail that serves the new neighborhood. So community essentials like coffee shops or dry cleaners and things like that. And with this image, again, we're telling this story about residential development, leveraging the power and the reach of transportation to really support a sustainable redevelopment of the La Villa neighborhood in downtown Jacksonville. In general, this is an image of some of those green roofs. This tells a sustainability story, resiliency. So, we want these roofs to be active and really a respite for residents and people within the new district. Our fourth key TOD strategy, we call it focused density, but again, really what this is about is how do we integrate new development within existing neighborhoods. And so really the takeaway here is that we want to locate taller buildings around the JRTC and then also around JRTC Plaza. So it really supports that kind of focus, that hub. But then begin to transition that density down as we move out and away from this kind of central area of the station area. So for example, what that looks like in this image, these townhomes that you see in the foreground, and this is also Lift Every Voice and Sing Park, these are the planned La Villa townhomes that were approved last year. And you can see JRTC kind of here in the middle, and you can see how the buildings begin to do just what I was saying. They begin to kind of step up in height and kind of intensity, but it's still, these are townhomes that are 3 stories. And some of those buildings in the background, get up to 10 stories. So it's about how you transition and, and kind of gracefully bring this built area together so that you don't have abrupt transitions in height and intensities. Finally, identify opportunities. We think in every station area for all of them, there's a lot of opportunities. And so we wanted to take the 1 or 2 for each station area and bring that to the forefront and really talk about where these exist. So just north of the JRTC, JTA actually owns a parcel. And one of the key elements of implementing and turning a TOD plan into reality is understanding, okay, well, what could happen now? Or what could happen in the near term? And with JTA owning this parcel, this could be redeveloped as a mixed-use block with apartments and ground floor retail that we think should serve residents of the townhomes and of the apartments, but then also of transit riders. This could be an initial project that happens even before what I'll get to in a second, what happens on the Prime Osborne site. So identifying these kind of first phase, first movers for TOD is very important. So this is something that how it could look. We took an approach with these residential buildings. They look a little modern. We were kind of echoing the progressive style and design of the JRTC. But this is just one idea. These could take a lot of different form. But we think the scale is right. This is about an 8-story building. This apartment is a little lower as it transitions to the townhomes. Finally, to end this portion of talking about JRTC, again, it's almost the elephant in the room of really the opportunity with the Prime Osborne Convention Center. What if the convention center is relocated elsewhere? And it is quite surprising to see that it could turn into a 10-block new neighborhood. And that's just between the surface lot that's there and the newer kind of convention center from the 80s. So again, Union Station is front and center. It's an important piece of the concept, but that's an exciting opportunity to create a new community on this land that's just south of the JRTC. So when you make your way through this, through these slide decks, when you're finished, you'll have these arrows here that you've seen me use. When you're done with one, you just exit out of it, and then you can move on and explore the other station areas. But the last thing we'll do is we'll kind of jump into what we just saw in renderings. So you have the opportunity to jump into the station area, and just as we did in the virtual conference room, we're able to take a look around. And I want to say also that I believe we are virtually on the 3rd floor. So just for your information, our virtual open house is essentially in this area here. Those are the windows that we were looking at earlier. So you'll find the black arrows, and this is how you're going to move around. This is really about jumping from point to point in different experiences. So it's not a continuous path, but nonetheless, it is a movement from point A to point E. So if you take a look around here, this is the JRTC. We're at a crosswalk, Union Station. So we're making our way over to JRTC Plaza. And so this is here, you're under those large frames. We have some shops here, but I really think it would be a great place for restaurants and bars. This is one of the, we call it an artifact, but for a historic structure from Union Station that is integrated into our plan. We think that the existing structure should be integrated with any of the new public realm. It's an important legacy back to Union Station. So we're gonna actually, when we click this arrow, you end up on the top level of the pavilion. We wanted to give folks the opportunity to take a look around. So you can see JRTC there, buses to the back, and really just and then Union Station there in the foreground. So if you ever get lost, just look down to the ground. You can see your arrows. This one's gonna take us back down, but that arrow is gonna take us back up. I know it's a little, might be a little disorienting, but you'll make your way around. So we left then the top of the pavilion, and now we're on a residential street. So just whenever you land in a new place, just pan around, look everywhere. This is the pavilion there. Down this alley of palm trees, that's Union Station. So this is Stewart Street. This is that connection between commuter rail and the JRTC. So this is that really important thoroughfare. These are new residential buildings. So then our last stop on the virtual tour, if you will, when you do end the tour or you get to the last spot, both at JRTC and Rosa Parks, you'll have an icon here that says return to open house, and it does literally just that. But if you take a look around, there's the future commuter rail boarding area. This dark gray thing here, we think it should be blue, but it is a new multi-use trail, a bike trail that encircles the entire new neighborhood. So I'm going to actually go back to the open house and take one more stop. So, you can do this in any order that you want, but this is our Tod Implementation Kiosk. And in here, there are 6 different buckets, if you will, of information that talk about how, what are the next steps from these TOD visions. So we go through the benefits and impacts. We talk about case studies where we look to as far as other cities' best practices for TOD implementation as it relates to transit. We review our market findings from that really form the foundation of this plan. We also talk about implementation and phasing, financing, value capture and feasibility, and then also governance. How is this going to be managed? Who should have a role in making this happen? So it's we go from the concepts and the visions to really a little bit more detail here on how these things get done. When you click one of those buttons, this just opens up another slideshow. Again, we designed this so that you can go through it on your own time and take in as much information or as little as you want. So that concludes our demonstration of the virtual open house. We really can't wait for you to get in and start jumping into the station areas, taking a look around in the open house room. When you're done, I'll point out 2 more things. We have, you can quickly navigate your way through the open house with this menu here to the left. Again, you have your instructions here in the middle. if you ever needed guidance on how to navigate and engage. And then when you're done, just hit this return to website. And what this does, it's going to first bring up the opportunity for you to provide us your feedback, your comments, and that's really important as we prepare to finalize the TOD report. And we want to ensure that we hear from you, your comments, your feedback are incorporated in this last phase. This is really, tonight was all about, basically, I wouldn't say, it was a report back. It was look what we've done through the year, both with you and the study team, and these are the results. And we want to hear what you think. So you have an opportunity to provide feedback. They're going to ask you questions about the open house, and then also questions about what you thought of specific station areas. And then you have an option to continue to the U2C TOD site, which is where it all begins. So with that, I will turn this back to Zan for any final words.
Great, thanks, Josh. Not much. I just, again, the virtual open house is open through the end of the month, so February 28th. So again, take your time, explore some of our proposed station areas, provide some feedback so that way we can include it in our final report. And I want to just thank everybody for their participation tonight and their future participation on the next part of this project.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you. Have a good one.